We started this journey together, chasing the unknown, seeking what we could not see. But now, we're lost.
Routine is one of those games that, despite all odds, really shouldn't exist. Initially announced all the way back in 2012 for a March 2017 release date, Routine has, well, routinely experienced delays over the last 13 years due to being stuck in development hell. Games that end up in this state are kinda like cooking a smoked beef brisket. It takes almost an entire day to cook properly, requiring you to wake up early and spend most of the day assuring the meat is cooking on track. Then your family finally comes over to indulge in the product of your tiresome work, but you never truly know how good it is until you serve it to them and people have their first bites. Only then will you know whether you have triumphed in victory or wasted an entire day making an undercooked mess and drown your sorrows in tobacco and alcohol. The only difference being that with an undercooked brisket you can shrug your shoulders and say better luck next time, but an underperforming game can bankrupt an entire development studio, causing job losses and financial ruin for those involved. Thankfully, I can say that this brisket is well cooked, so why don't we dive into it and start talking about the actual game's story, shall we? Routine is set in an alternate version of the 1980s where we have established an underground base on the moon. You play as an anonymous silent protagonist who is a software engineer tasked with fixing the base's automated security system. You wake up to find the base completely abandoned and in lockdown, with the base maintenance robots acting completely hostile to anyone they see. You then quickly discover this is all being caused by the security system and go on a journey through the base's living quarters and mall areas trying to find the information you need to shut it down. Whilst exploring these areas, you can come in contact with various terminals of the people that used to live there, with various mentions of a virus spreading through the facility that originated from a place called the Canal. After shutting off the security system and being knocked unconscious, you wake up in a different part of the base that seems to be more focused on actual research rather than living and leisure. Here you find out more about the Canal and discover the fact that a terrifying alien came from it known as Entity A. You also discover that the virus the researchers got seems to have some sort of psychological effect that made them want to enter the Canal, where it is assumed that they died. This discovery is terrifying, as it would seem that our character's main objective would be to enter the Canal. After another long journey, you do finally go into the Canal, where it is ominously assumed that we suffer the same fate as all the other researchers on the base. Now, if all of this sounds a bit lackluster to you, trust me, it isn't. This game is all about presentation, and me telling you the story in a YouTube video does absolutely no justice to how incredible it actually is. It really is one of those games where you have to actually play it to truly understand it. Moving on to the gameplay, this game unfortunately for the most part falls into the category of horror games that are almost walking sim-esque, with a lot of the gameplay loop revolving around you having an objective within an area and an enemy or group of enemies stalking you and trying to stop you from achieving that objective. In this case, the first enemies you encounter being robots fit this description perfectly, and whilst I do find these guys cool, I never really felt that scared of them, as I've encountered enemies that behave like this countless times before in other games. Fuck me. The other enemy you come across, known as Entity A, is thankfully a lot more unique, with it having the ability to turn invisible, requiring you to use the screen on your cap to see it. This leads to a more tense cat and mouse game where you're trying to find it without alerting it to know if your path forward is safe whilst it tries to find you. Entity A will sometimes just sit invisible in a random corner of a room waiting to jump scare you, meaning if you can't hear its footsteps you should be on high alert. Whilst Entity A is definitely a more unique enemy than I am used to seeing in games like this, the standout feature here is definitely the cat. The cat is the bread and butter of this game, with most of the gameplay elements and puzzles being centered around you you using the cat. The cat comes with 3 distinct modes, the first being a laser that has the ability to overcharge certain parts of the environment for puzzle purposes and having the bonus of being able to stun enemies. The second being what the game calls the clear view module, which is essentially a flashlight and blacklight combo, mainly used for puzzles and uncovering hidden gamer gunk on your crusty ass gaming chair. And the third module being a security module that is used specifically to open certain doors and terminals. A lot of the puzzles in this game revolve around upgrading the security clearance of this module to progress. The cat comes with another feature of being able to wirelessly connect to some terminals, but this feature is mostly used to activate the game's checkpoints and is seldom used in any of the puzzles. Now when it comes to the puzzles themselves, I do have to say, whilst they aren't super hard to figure out, I am so glad the game doesn't treat me like I'm an idiot while trying to figure them out. There have been so many games, especially during more recent years, where I feel like I'm being treated like an idiot because I have some other character nagging to me in my ear about how to beat the puzzle, or having an actual pop-up appear on screen asking if I want a fucking hint. This game is extremely dedicated to making you feel lonely and alienated, and this makes it a breath of fresh air when I am able to actually sit and think when trying to do a puzzle without having my train of thought interrupted by fucking Atreus or some other fuck-ass equivalent. Anyway, to finally sum up everything I've said in this video, Routine is an incredibly lonely but fantastic first playthrough, which absolutely nails the retro futuristic horror aesthetic it sets out to achieve. Unfortunately, this is one of those games that you are probably going to play once and barely, if ever, play again. But with a quite generous price tag of $36 at full price, and with how high quality this game is, I'd say it's definitely worth it. Anyway, that's it for today's video. Bye.